I used to believe my marriage was unbreakable, that no matter how hard life became, my husband and I were a team. That's what I told everyone. That's what I told myself. And for a long time, it felt true, at least on the surface. My name is Emily Carter, and for 7 years, I was married to Daniel Carter. He was charming, calm, and the kind of man people instantly trusted. The perfect husband, everyone said, especially the women. We met in college. He was studying business. I was studying psychology. Daniel had this soft smile that made you feel safe, like nothing bad could ever happen when he was around. When he proposed, I didn't hesitate. I thought I was choosing a lifetime of love. If only I had known what love was about to cost me. On the outside, our life looked perfect. A beautiful home in a quiet neighborhood. Weekend dinners with friends. Family holidays filled with laughter. I worked as a counselor at a private clinic, and Daniel ran a growing marketing firm. We didn't have kids yet, but we were planning, or at least that's what he said. But perfection has cracks. Tiny ones at first, easy to ignore. It started with small things. Daniel coming home late and blaming meetings. His phone always on silent. The way he'd tilt the screen away from me, like it was nothing, like I was imagining things. When I asked, he laughed. "You're overthinking them," he'd say, kissing my forehead. "You deal with paranoid patients all day. Don't turn me into one." And I believed him. Because trusting your husband feels easier than questioning your entire life. But something inside me knew. I just didn't want to listen. One night, around 11 p.m., Daniel came home smelling different. Not alcohol, not sweat, perfume. A sweet floral scent that didn't belong to me. I remember standing in the kitchen, pretending to scroll through my phone, while my heart raced. "New client?" I asked casually. He didn't even pause. "Yeah." Long dinner meeting. That was the moment I should have pushed harder, asked questions, followed my instincts. Instead, I smiled, because that's what an innocent wife does. Over the next few months, Daniel became distant. He still slept beside me, still kissed me goodbye in the mornings, but it felt rehearsed, like he was playing a role. And I was the audience he didn't want to disappoint. Or maybe the audience he thought was too stupid to notice. Then came her. Her name was Sophia. I didn't know that yet, of course. At that time, she was just a colleague he mentioned once or twice. Someone who worked closely with him on a new project. "She's sharp," he said one evening. "Reminds me of you when we first met." I laughed, but something twisted in my stomach. A few weeks later, I ran into her at a company event Daniel insisted I attend. She was younger than me, confident, the kind of woman who knew she was attractive and didn't bother hiding it. "Emily, this is Sophia," Daniel said, placing a hand on my back. "Sophia, my wife." The way she looked at me. I'll never forget it. She smiled politely, but her eyes scanned me, slowly, carefully, like she was measuring something she already owned. "It's so nice to finally meet you," she said. "Daniel talks about you all the time." Daniel stiffened, I noticed. That night, when I asked him what she meant, he brushed it off. "She's just being friendly." But friendly women don't look at married men like that. Still, I stayed silent. I told myself I was being insecure, that years of counseling emotionally broken people had made me suspicious of happiness. Until the fights started. Daniel accused me of nagging, of being cold, of changing. "You're not the woman I married," he said once, his voice sharp. "You're always watching me, judging me." I cried that night, apologized for things I didn't even understand. I was fighting for a marriage he was already halfway out of. And that's when it happened, the night that shattered everything. Daniel said he had to travel for a conference. 3 days, 2 nights. I helped him pack, folded his shirts, kissed him goodbye like a loyal wife. But something felt wrong. So wrong that I did something I had never done before. I followed him. Not all the way. Just far enough to see him stop his car. Not at the airport, but outside a hotel on the other side of town. My hands were shaking as I parked across the street. I watched him step out of the car, straighten his jacket, and smile. Then she walked toward him. "Sophia." She wrapped her arms around his neck like it was the most natural thing in the world. And Daniel, my husband, pulled her close and kissed her like he had forgotten I existed. I couldn't breathe. I should have confronted him, screamed, taken pictures. But I didn't, because at that exact moment, someone knocked on my car window. I turned, startled. It was an older woman. Late 50s, maybe. Kind eyes. Nervous smile. "I'm sorry," she said softly. "I didn't mean to scare you, but are you Daniel Carter's wife?" My blood ran cold. Yes, I whispered. Why? She hesitated, then said the words that would change my life forever. I think you deserve to know the truth, because I've been watching this for a long time. And just like that, my perfect marriage collapsed into a single terrifying question. What exactly had this woman been witnessing all along? Conflict begins. The woman outside my car looked around nervously, as if someone might be watching us. Her hand trembled as she clutched her purse to her chest. My name is Margaret, she said softly. I work here. Front desk. Night shift. My eyes flicked back to the hotel entrance. Daniel and Sophia were already gone, swallowed by the glass doors like a bad dream I couldn't wake up from. You work here? My voice sounded distant, like it didn't belong to me. Then you know why they're here. Margaret nodded slowly. I've seen them before. Many times. My stomach dropped. How long? I asked. She hesitated again. That pause felt louder than any scream. Almost a year. A year. I gripped the steering wheel so hard my fingers hurt. Almost a year of lies. A year of late meetings. A year of perfume that wasn't mine. A year of me apologizing for being suspicious while my husband played the devoted husband at home and a passionate lover somewhere else. They always book the same room, Margaret continued. Same excuses. Same smiles. He tells everyone he's here for business. My chest tightened. Why are you telling me this now? Margaret looked at me with something close to pity. Because tonight, he told her something different. My heart skipped. Different how? He said he was finally ready, she replied. That he'd talk to you. That soon, there would be no more hiding. The world tilted. So I'm the problem, I whispered. The obstacle. Margaret shook her head. No. You're the wife, and from the way he talks about you. You're the woman he's afraid of. That didn't comfort me. It scared me more. I thanked her, though I don't remember how I managed to speak. She squeezed my hand before walking away, leaving me alone with the truth and a burning ache in my chest. I drove home in silence. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat on the couch, staring at the wall, replaying every moment of the past year. Every smile, every excuse, every time I defended him to my friends. By morning, something inside me had changed. I wasn't just hurt anymore. I was angry. When Daniel came home 2 days later, he looked relaxed, happy. He kissed my cheek, dropped his bag by the door, and sighed. God, that trip was exhausting, he said. I studied his face. The familiar lines. The man I had loved. The man who thought I was blind. Did the conference go well? I asked. He nodded. Very productive. I smiled back. That's great. He didn't know it yet, but that smile was my first lie to him. Over the next few weeks, I became someone else. I stopped questioning him, stopped checking his phone. I laughed more, complimented him. I even initiated intimacy, something I hadn't done in months. Daniel noticed. You've been different lately, he said one night, clearly pleased. Different how? I asked, pretending innocence. Calmer. Happier. I leaned into him. Maybe I finally learned to trust you. If only he knew what trust looked like now. Behind his back, I started digging. As a counselor, I knew how to listen without being obvious. I watched patterns, took mental notes, late night calls, weekend work emergencies. Every lie followed the same rhythm. And then, there was Sophia. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I studied her social media. Carefully. She posted motivational quotes, gym selfies, photos of expensive dinners, always tagged work life, but in the reflection of a wine glass in one photo. I saw Daniel's watch, the same one I gave him for our 5th anniversary. That night, I cried, not loudly, just enough to release the pressure building inside me. Then I wiped my face and made a decision. If Daniel thought I was the clueless wife waiting at home, I would let him keep thinking that. Because sometimes, the best revenge begins with silence. One evening, Daniel told me he'd be late again. Client meeting. Same excuse. Of course, I said sweetly. Drive safe. As soon as he left, I grabbed my coat. This time, I wasn't going to sit in a car across the street. This time, I walked straight into the hotel. Margaret recognized me instantly. Her eyes widened, but she said nothing. I need a room, I said calmly, close to the one my husband usually stays in. She hesitated. Then she nodded. When I reached my room, my heart pounded so hard I thought I might pass out. I pressed my ear gently against the wall. I heard laughter. Her laughter. Then Daniel's voice. Soft. Intimate. The same tone he used to use with me. Tears streamed down my face. but I didn't make a sound. Because that was the moment I understood something painful and powerful. He wasn't confused. He wasn't lonely. He was choosing her. But what Daniel didn't know was that I was no longer just his wife. I was his witness. And I was done being quiet. As I stepped back into the hallway, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. If you want the full truth about your husband, meet me tomorrow. There's more you don't know. My hand shook as I read it, because I knew, deep down, that whatever was coming next would destroy the last illusion I had left. Betrayal revealed. I didn't sleep that night. The message kept replaying in my head like a warning siren. There's more you don't know. How could there be more? I had already seen my husband kissing another woman, heard his laughter through a hotel wall, learned that his affair had lasted almost a year. What else could possibly be left to destroy? By morning, my heart felt heavy, but my mind was strangely clear. I replied to the message with one word. Where? The response came instantly. Cafe Linden, 3 p.m. Come alone. The next few hours passed painfully slow. Daniel was unusually affectionate that morning. He made coffee, asked about my day, even kissed my forehead before leaving. I watched him walk out the door, thinking how terrifying it was that a person could lie so easily and still look like the man you married. At exactly 2:55 p.m., I walked into Cafe Linden. It was quiet, soft music, a few customers scattered around. I chose a corner table, my hands clenched around my purse. Then I saw her, Sophia, for a split second. I thought this was some sick joke. My body tensed, ready to stand up, to scream, to finally confront her. But then I noticed something strange. She looked nervous, no confident walk, no sharp smile. Her makeup was minimal, her eyes tired. She approached slowly, like someone walking toward a storm. Emily, she said softly, thank you for coming. I didn't invite her to sit, but she did it anyway. So, I said coldly, you wanted to tell me the truth? She nodded. Yes, because I can't do this anymore. I laughed bitterly. Congratulations. You've been doing it for a year. She flinched. I didn't know at first. That made my blood boil. Don't insult me. I swear, she said quickly. He told me he was separated, that the marriage was over, just not legally. I leaned back, crossing my arms. And when did you find out he was still sleeping next to his wife every night? Her eyes filled with tears. 3 months ago. Then why didn't you stop? She looked down. Because by then, I was already trapped. Those words caught my attention. Trapped how? She hesitated, then reached into her bag and pulled out her phone. She slid it across the table toward me. Read. My hands shook as I scrolled. Messages from Daniel. Promises. Lies, plans. And then threats. Daniel, if you leave me now, I'll tell everyone about the promotion deal. Daniel, you think your career will survive that? Daniel, don't forget who helped you climb so fast. My heart pounded. What is this? I whispered. Sophia wiped her eyes. He didn't just sleep with me, Emily. He used me. I was his client at first, then his employee, then his secret. The pieces began to fall into place. That promotion, I said slowly. You didn't earn it, did you? She shook her head. Not the way people think. Suddenly, I felt sick. Daniel wasn't just cheating. He was manipulating, blackmailing, destroying lives without blinking. Sophia leaned closer. And there's something else you need to know. I looked up. He's not planning to leave you, she said. He never was. My breath caught. Then what was all that talk about being ready? She gave a sad smile. That was for me. To keep me quiet. I stared at her, my chest burning. So I was the wife at home, I said. And you were the insurance policy. She nodded. Yes. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Two women sitting across from each other, both betrayed by the same man in different ways. Finally, I broke the silence. Why tell me now? Sophia took a deep breath. Because I'm pregnant. The cafe noise faded. Pregnant? I repeated. She nodded, tears spilling freely now. 2 months. I felt like the floor had disappeared beneath me. He knows? I asked. Yes, she whispered. And he told me to take care of it. My hands curled into fists. He said a baby would ruin everything, she continued. His image, his marriage, his business. I stood up so suddenly my chair scraped loudly against the floor. Sit down, she pleaded. Please. I'm scared. I sat back down, my body trembling with rage. He wants me to stay quiet, she said. But I can't. I won't. I took a deep breath. Then we have something in common. She looked at me, confused. I'm done being his cover story, I said slowly. And you're done being his secret. Her eyes widened. What are you saying? I'm saying, I replied, my voice calm but deadly, that Daniel thinks he's in control. I leaned forward. He's wrong. As I left the cafe, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was Daniel. Daniel. Running late tonight. Don't wait up. I smiled, because now I knew the truth, and the truth was about to tear his perfect world apart. But I still didn't know the most shocking part of all, because the next witness wasn't a stranger. It was someone who lived under my roof. Turning point. The next witness wasn't a stranger. It wasn't a coworker. It wasn't a hotel employee. It wasn't even Sophia. It was someone who lived under my roof. That thought kept echoing in my head as I drove home from the cafe. My hands were tight on the steering wheel, my chest heavy with rage, heartbreak, and something darker, clarity. For the first time in months, everything made sense. Daniel wasn't careless. He was calculated. When I reached home, the house was quiet. Too quiet. I dropped my bag on the table and stood in the living room, looking around like I was seeing it for the first time. Our wedding photo hung on the wall. The smiles, the promises, the lies frozen in a frame. I poured myself a glass of water, but my hands were shaking so badly that half of it spilled. That's when I heard footsteps. Emily? A familiar voice called. I turned. It was Laura, Daniel's younger sister. She had been living with us for the past 6 months. After her divorce, Daniel insisted she stay with us until she got back on her feet. I welcomed her, comforted her, treated her like family. She stood in the doorway, holding her phone, her face pale. Are you okay? She asked. You look different. I studied her carefully. Laura avoided my eyes. My heart skipped. Laura, I said slowly. How long have you known? She froze. That silence told me everything. Knew what? She tried. I took a step closer. About Daniel. About Sophia. About the hotel. Her lips trembled. How long? I repeated, my voice rising. Tears filled her eyes. Since the beginning. The room spun. You knew, I whispered. You knew he was cheating on me. And you lived here. Ate my food. Watched me worry. I didn't want to hurt you. She cried. He's my brother. I laughed. A sharp, broken sound. And I was your sister-in-law. Or did that mean nothing? She covered her face. He told me you didn't love him anymore. That the marriage was already dead. Did it look dead to you? I shouted. Did it look dead when I cooked for him? When I waited up for him? When I defended him? She shook her head, sobbing. There's more, she whispered. My chest tightened. What else? He used me, Laura said. Just like he used Sophia. I stared at her. He asked me to cover for him, she continued. Whenever you called. Whenever you asked where he was. He told me to lie. My knees felt weak. I sat down. He said if I didn't help him, she added, he'd stop supporting me financially. I had nothing, Emily. No job. No place to go. So many lies. So many accomplices. I wiped my face slowly. Did you know about the baby? She nodded. When? I demanded. 2 weeks ago. I closed my eyes. He told me to convince her to get rid of it, Laura said. Said it was a mistake. A mistake. That word burned into my soul. When Daniel came home that night, I was ready. Not with shouting. Not with tears. With calm. He walked in, loosened his tie, and smiled like always. Hey, he said. A long day. I smiled back. We need to talk. His expression changed slightly. Just for a second. About what? About Sophia. The color drained from his face. What are you talking about? He snapped. I tilted my head. Stop. I know everything. He laughed nervously. Emily, this is crazy. Hotel Linden, I said softly. Room 514. Same room. Almost a year. Silence. Laura appeared behind him in the hallway. Daniel turned. You told her? She nodded, crying. I'm sorry. His jaw tightened. You had no right, he hissed. No, I said calmly. You had no right. His mask fell. So what? He said coldly. You followed me? Spied on me. Is that what kind of wife you've become? I stood up slowly. Don't twist this. You pushed me into this, he shouted. You became distant, cold, always analyzing me like one of your patients. I laughed. You cheated because I asked questions? He stepped closer. I needed someone who admired me, who didn't judge me. And blackmailing her? I asked. Was that admiration? He froze. So she told you, he muttered. Yes, I said. And she's pregnant. For a moment, fear flickered in his eyes. Then it vanished. She'll handle it, he said coldly. She knows what's best. I slapped him. The sound echoed through the room. You don't get to decide that, I said, my voice shaking with fury. You don't get to destroy lives and walk away clean. He stared at me, stunned. You think anyone will believe you? He sneered. You're emotional, unstable. I'll deny everything. I smiled. Not anymore. I pulled out my phone and pressed play. Margaret's recorded testimony. Sophia's messages. Hotel records. Laura's voice admitting everything. Daniel's face collapsed. What is this? He whispered. This, I said, is the truth. He dropped onto the couch. You wouldn't ruin me, he said quietly. You're not that kind of woman. I leaned down to his level. You're right, I said softly. I was the kind of woman who trusted you. I straightened. But now, I'm the kind of woman who protects herself. That night, I packed a bag. As I walked toward the door, Daniel spoke behind me. If you leave, he said, there's no going back. I turned. Oh, Daniel, I said calmly. There never was. As I stepped outside, my phone rang. It was Sophia. I've decided, she said through tears. I'm keeping the baby. I smiled for the first time in weeks. Good, I said, because tomorrow, the world meets the real Daniel Carter, and he had no idea how public his lies were about to become. Climax plus resolution. The morning everything ended, I woke up calmer than I had ever felt in months. Not because the pain was gone, but because the confusion was. For the first time, I knew exactly who Daniel Carter was. And more importantly, I knew who I was becoming. I stayed that night at a small hotel across town. I didn't cry myself to sleep. I didn't replay memories. I sat by the window and watched the city lights, realizing how many times I had mistaken silence for peace. By sunrise, my phone was already buzzing. Missed calls, messages, unknown numbers. Daniel was panicking, but I wasn't answering. Because that day wasn't about arguments anymore. It was about truth. At 9 a.m., I met Sophia and Margaret at my lawyer's office. Sophia looked pale but determined. Her hands instinctively rested over her stomach, as if protecting the life Daniel had tried to erase. Margaret sat quietly, clutching a folder of hotel records she had legally obtained, timestamps, room numbers, CCTV logs. 3 women, 3 witnesses, 1 story. My lawyer, Ems Reynolds, listened carefully as we laid everything out. When we finished, she closed the file slowly and looked at me. You understand, she said, that once we move forward, there is no undoing this. I nodded. I'm counting on it. By noon, Daniel's firm received an anonymous compliance complaint. By 2 p.m., Sophia filed a formal workplace harassment and coercion report. By 4 p.m., divorce papers were prepared. And by evening, Daniel's carefully constructed world began to collapse. I wasn't there when it happened, but Laura was. She called me, crying. They escorted him out, she said. Security, in front of everyone. I closed my eyes. Daniel had built his life on appearances, on control, on the belief that no one would ever challenge him. And now, he was exposed. That night, he showed up at my hotel. I knew it was him before I even opened the door. The knock wasn't angry. It was desperate. I opened it slowly. Daniel stood there looking smaller somehow. His tie was loose, his eyes red, his confidence gone. Please, he said, just talk to me. I crossed my arms. You already said everything you needed to. No, he whispered. I didn't. I stepped aside and let him in. Not because I missed him, but because I needed closure. He sat on the edge of the bed like a stranger. They suspended me, he said quietly. The board wants answers. I nodded. They deserve them. Sophia ruined me, he snapped suddenly. I laughed. No, Daniel. You ruined yourself. He looked up at me, anger and fear mixing in his eyes. You think you're some hero now? He said. You destroyed everything we had. I walked closer. No, I said firmly. I destroyed the lie. What we had was already dead. He stood up abruptly. I loved you. The audacity of that sentence almost made me smile. You loved what I gave you, I said. Stability, silence, loyalty. You never loved me enough to be honest. His shoulders sagged. I made a mistake, he whispered. I shook my head. You made hundreds, over years, on purpose. Silence filled the room. Then quietly, he asked, "Is the baby really mine?" "Yes," I replied, "and she's keeping it." Fear flickered across his face. "You're not going to tell the media, are you?" he asked. "Please. Think about my reputation." I stared at him. "You still don't get it," I said. "This isn't revenge. This is accountability." He left shortly after that, and I never saw him again in person. The divorce moved quickly. The evidence was overwhelming. Infidelity, emotional abuse, manipulation. Daniel didn't fight it. He couldn't. I walked away with my dignity, my independence, and the quiet strength I never knew I had. Daniel walked away with consequences. Sophia moved to a different city. We stayed in touch, not as friends bound by pain, but as women who had survived the same storm. She gave birth to a baby girl months later. She named her Hope. Margaret retired shortly after, finally free from the weight of secrets she had carried for too long. I still send her holiday cards. Laura moved out. Before she left, she stood in the doorway, tears streaming. "I'm sorry," she said. "I failed you." I nodded. "Yes, you did." But then I added, "What you do next, that's what matters." She hugged me before leaving. I didn't stop her. Healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing peace over poison. Months passed. I rebuilt my life slowly. Therapy, work, long walks alone, learning how to sleep without listening for someone else's breathing. And one evening, as I sat on my balcony watching the sunset, I realized something powerful. I didn't feel broken anymore. I felt free. Daniel taught me a painful lesson, but also a valuable one, that innocence isn't weakness. Silence isn't strength, and love without respect is just another form of control. I used to be the innocent wife who defended a cheating husband. Now, I am the woman who survived him. And if you're listening to my story right now, remember this. Sometimes, the witness that changes everything is the one who finally decides to speak.